I never knew what was missing until I found her. Or rather, until she found me. It started with an Instagram notification. A comment on one of my photos that made my heart stop. Is this some kind of joke? This is literally my face. I almost scrolled past it, assuming it was spam or a troll. But something made me click on the profile. And there, she was my face staring back at me through someone else's photos. Same heart-shaped face, same widely spaced green eyes, same small scar above the right eyebrow from a childhood accident. Except I'd gotten mine from falling off a swing set in Nebraska, and according to her profile, she lived in Oregon. My hands trembled as I scrolled through her photos. There she was celebrating her 21st birthday, 2 months ago, the exact same day as mine. There she was making the exact same crooked smile I saw every morning in the mirror. There she was with her arm around an older woman who looked nothing like my mom. I sat there for hours, comparing our lives through photos like parallel universes. While I was graduating from Lincoln East High School, she was getting her diploma from some place called Sunset Valley. While I was playing soccer, she was doing track. While I was growing up with my mom in a small ranch house, she was living in what looked like a craftsman-style home with a different family entirely. The message I finally sent her was simple. I think we need to talk. Her response came within minutes. I've been looking for you my whole life. Asterisk, 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 Mom tried to hide the adoption papers when I was growing up, but I found them when I was 13, stuffed in an old shoe box in the attic along with my birth certificate. I'd gone up there looking for her high school yearbooks, curious about whether I looked like her at my age. Instead, I discovered I didn't look like her at all because she wasn't my biological mother. The papers didn't mention a twin. Just that I'd been adopted through an agency in Chicago, that my birth mother was 18 and unmarried, that she'd wanted a closed adoption. Mom found me crying in the attic that day, adoption papers scattered around me like fallen leaves. I was going to tell you when you were older, she said, pulling me close. I wanted you to understand that being chosen made you even more special to me. I didn't feel special. I felt like a puzzle with missing pieces. But now, 20 years after we were separated, I was finally going to meet my missing piece. Her name was Claire, and we'd arranged to meet halfway between our homes, at a small cafe in Boise, Idaho. I got there an hour early, too nervous to sit still at home. The barista probably thought I was crazy, the way I kept checking my reflection in the cafe window, smoothing my hair, adjusting my shirt. Would we really look as identical as our photos suggested? Would we sound the same? Would we like each other? When she walked in, time seemed to stop. Everyone in the cafe turned to look at us, the mirror images standing frozen, staring at each other across a sea of empty tables. She had styled her hair differently than mine, wearing it straight while I let mine fall in its natural waves. She was dressed more formally in a blazer and slacks, while I wore jeans and a sweater. But otherwise, it was like looking at myself in a slightly different universe. We moved at the same time, both taking a hesitant step forward. Then another. And then we were hugging, crying, laughing all at once. The barista dropped a cup behind the counter, but we barely noticed. "Your scar," she said when we finally pulled apart, reaching up to touch the mark above my eyebrow. "I always wondered if you had it too." "Swing set accident when I was 5, I said. She laughed, tears still streaming down her face. "Monkey bars for me." "Same age." We sat there for hours, our coffee growing cold as we pieced together our separate lives. She'd grown up as an only child too, with loving adoptive parents who'd always been open about her adoption. They'd told her she might have a twin out there somewhere. There had been rumors at the agency, but all attempts to find information had hit dead ends. "Did you ever feel it?" she asked. "Like something was missing." "All the time," I admitted. Especially on our birthday. I'd always get this ache, like phantom limb pain but in my heart. She nodded. Me too. Every single year. We discovered we both loved strawberry ice cream but hated chocolate. We both had an irrational fear of balloons popping. We both played instruments, me the piano, her the violin. We both wanted to be writers, but had chosen more practical careers. I was in marketing. She was in public relations. Nature versus nurture in action, she said, laughing as we listed our similarities and differences. Same basic ingredients, just mixed up differently. But there were deeper similarities too, ones that went beyond genetics or coincidence. We both felt most at peace near water. We both had vivid recurring dreams about a room with yellow wallpaper. We both hummed when we were concentrating hard on something. Do you think she knows? I asked eventually. Our birth mother. Claire's face grew serious. I tried to find her a few years ago. Got pretty far too, tracked down the hospital where we were born, even found her name, Sarah Mitchell. But the trail went cold after that. It's like she disappeared. I felt a familiar ache in my chest, the same one I'd felt every birthday, every time I looked at my adoption papers, every time I wondered about the woman who had carried us for 9 months only to give us away. Do you want to find her? I asked. Claire was quiet for a long moment. I used to think I did. But now, she reached across the table and squeezed my hand. I think maybe this was the missing piece I was really looking for. I knew exactly what she meant. The phantom pain in my heart was gone, replaced by something warm and full and real. We spent the next few days together in Boise, making up for lost time. We took silly photos mimicking each other's poses. We stayed up late into the night sharing stories from our childhoods. We called our adoptive parents, who were just as shocked and emotional as we were about the reunion. I always felt like I was only telling you half the story, Claire's mom told her over speakerphone. Like somewhere out there was the other half of your beginning. My mom had a similar reaction. I used to dream about this, she admitted. About you finding your other half. I just never knew how to help you look. The hardest part was saying goodbye. We had lives to get back to, jobs that needed us, routines that couldn't be put on hold forever. But something fundamental had shifted in both of us. The world felt more complete somehow, more balanced. It's not goodbye, Claire said as we hugged at the airport. It's just see you later. Twin promise? I asked, holding out my pinky the way I used to do with my childhood best friend. She linked her pinky with mine, smiling through tears. Twin promise. Asterisk, 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 that was 6 months ago. Since then, we've talked every day long video calls where we show each other our worlds, text messages about nothing and everything, emails filled with photos and stories we've saved up to share. We're planning to spend our next birthday together, our first shared birthday in 21 years. Sometimes I still catch myself staring at our photos side by side, marveling at how two people could look so identical, yet live such different lives. But then I think about all the things that are the same, not just our faces or our genes, but the deeper things. The way we both searched for something we couldn't name. The way we both felt that empty space where the other should have been. Last week, I found an old diary from when I was 12. On one tear-stained page, I'd written, "Sometimes I feel like I'm only half of something bigger." I took a photo and sent it to Claire. An hour later, she sent back a photo of her own childhood diary, open to an entry that read, "Mom says I'm whole just as I am, but I feel like there's another part of me out there somewhere." We were both right, all those years ago. We were halves of something bigger. But now we're whole. Yesterday, Claire sent me a link to a private investigator who specializes in finding birth parents. No pressure, her message said. But if you ever want to know the rest of our story, I'm ready if you are. I haven't responded yet. Part of me wants to understand why we were separated, why our birth mother chose to give us up, whether she ever regretted splitting us apart. But another part of me wonders if it matters anymore. We found each other, despite everything. We filled in the missing pieces of each other's lives. Maybe someday, we'll be ready to search for those answers. Maybe we'll track down Sarah Mitchell and learn the truth about our beginnings. Maybe we'll discover we have other siblings out there, other pieces of our story waiting to be found. But for now, this feels like enough more than enough. It feels like everything. I look at my phone, where Claire has just sent me another message. Thinking about you, twin. There's a photo attached she's making our signature crooked smile, the one we somehow both inherited despite growing up hundreds of miles apart. I smile back at my phone, the same crooked smile, and type, thinking about you too, other me. Because that's what we are now, not just twins or sisters or mirror images, but two parts of a whole that was always meant to find its way back together. Time and distance tried to separate us, but some bonds are stronger than circumstance. Some connections can't be broken, even by 20 years and 2,000 miles. They say everyone has a soulmate somewhere in the world. I'm just lucky that mine came with the same face. Asterisk, 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 looking back now, I can see all the signs that something was missing. The way I used to practice conversations with myself in the mirror, feeling sometimes like the reflection was answering back. The way I'd dream about a girl who looked just like me, walking beside me on a beach I'd never seen. The way I'd sometimes turn to share a joke or a secret with someone who wasn't there. Claire had the same experiences. We've spent hours comparing notes, finding all the ways our lives echoed each other across the distance. We both named our childhood Teddy, Bears Benjamin. We both went through a phase of wanting to be marine biologists after watching the same documentary about dolphins in middle school. We both chose the same quote for our high school yearbooks without knowing it. Not all who wander are lost. Maybe we weren't wandering all those years. Maybe we were just finding our way to each other. Our adoptive parents have become friends too, sharing stories and photos, filling in the blanks of our childhood years. They're planning to spend Thanksgiving together this year, our first holiday, as one big, unconventional family. It's like the universe couldn't keep you apart, my mom said recently. Like you were always meant to find each other. Maybe she's right. Maybe all those years of feeling incomplete were just the universe's way of making sure we kept looking, kept searching, kept believing that somewhere out there was the missing piece of our puzzle. Last week, Claire and I got matching tattoos, small compass, roses on our left wrists. To remind us that we'll always find our way back to each other, she said. We don't need the reminder, not really. We've spent enough time apart to last a lifetime. But it's nice to have the symbol there, a permanent mark of our connection, our shared story, our journey back to each other. Sometimes when I can't sleep, I think about that first moment in the cafe, when we saw each other for the first time. How the whole world seemed to hold its breath. How everything that came before all the searching, all the wondering, all the feeling incomplete suddenly made sense. They say lightning never strikes the same place twice, but they're wrong. Claire and I are living proof that some miracles come in pairs. Asterisk, 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 we've started writing our story down together, taking turns adding chapters to a shared document. Maybe someday we'll publish it, share our journey with others who are searching for their own missing pieces. Or maybe we'll keep it just for us, a record of how two halves of a whole found their way back together. Claire says we should call it mirror image. I think she's right, it fits us perfectly, just like everything else we seem to share. Yesterday, she sent me a photo of herself as a baby, tucked into a pink blanket in her adoptive parents' arms. I sent back a nearly identical photo of myself at the same age, in the same pose, wrapped in a similar blanket. "Do you think we were together before?" she asked. "In the hospital, I mean. Do you think we knew?" I looked at our baby photos side by side, two tiny faces already so similar, already carrying the map of our future selves. "I think we've always known," I replied. "Somewhere deep down, we've always known about each other. Maybe that's why we both grew up feeling like we were missing something. Maybe that's why we both kept searching, kept wondering, kept believing in something we couldn't explain. Or maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe we're just two parts of the same story, finally being told the way it was meant to be told together. Claire is coming to visit next week. We're going to try to recreate some of our childhood photos, me on my old swing set, her on the monkey bars at the local park. Same scars, same smiles, same story just 20 years later than it should have been. But maybe it's not too late. Maybe this is exactly when we were supposed to find each other. Maybe all those years apart just made our reunion that much sweeter. After all, some stories are worth waiting for. Some bonds are worth searching for. Some people are worth finding, no matter how long it takes. And sometimes, if you're really lucky, the person you've been looking for your whole life turns out to be looking right back at you, wearing your face, sharing your smile, carrying the other half of your heart. That's what Claire and I are, two halves of the same heart, finally beating in sync after 20 years apart. And now that we've found each other, we're never letting go again. Twin promise,